The Retro 85 featured in today's review was provided courtesy of Retro Fighters. The world of novelty game display and storage cases isn't one that I am too familiar with or really knew existed. Your average display box or cartridge protector is about as far as I have ever gone to protect my more valuable collectibles. Little did I know how intricate some of the options out there can get. That is, until our friends at Retro Fighters released their newest product, Retro 85. These mini NES cartridge replicas designed to house Nintendo Switch games have opened my eyes to a new world, and I was quickly lost in the rabbit hole. The Retro 85 comes in a fairly minimalistic box with the 8 NES cartridge replicas, storage case, and product name taking center stage. An example of what Switch cartridges will look like once placed in the Retro 85 cases is also on display, but let's be honest, it doesn't do the Retro 85 justice on how good things look once stored inside them. The back of the box has a brief description of Retro 85 and some key aspects of the product. Opening the box, you have the Retro 85 cartridges stored in a hard case and a brief user guide. The Retro 85 cartridges are wonderful miniature representations of classic NES cartridge shells. Everything from the surface texture along the front and back and sides to the number of indented lines is spot on for the real deal. The coolest aesthetic touch keeping Retro 85 in line with original NES games is the original caution labels being present on the back of the case. Seriously, it's just fantastic to look at. Where the NES cartridge label would typically be is now an open window for displaying a Switch cartridge's label. Switch cards slide in from the top, and the Retro 85 features a spring locking device to keep them in place, making the whole thing feel even more premium. Retro 85 cartridges are solidly built and are quite sturdy. The only area to watch out for is the top of the Switch cartridge port. To further protect the Retro 85 cartridges, you could keep them stored in the included hard case. I gotta say, the whole setup kinda reminds me of using old Game Boy cartridge cases, and I love it. The hard case is also transparent, so you can see what you're storing inside. Well, if you flip the Retro 85 cartridges around inside it, that is. I honestly can't decide if I like the way it looks more when opened with all the games visible, or by being able to see them on the outside. Displaying your games with the Retro 85 is where I personally find the most use and fun with the product. While more compact than trying to carry around 8 Switch games in their retail boxes, it can't compete with the portfolios out there that can store 80 games in a relatively similar profile. But for displaying your games, it looks absolutely fantastic. I love putting in games like Mega Man 11 and displaying them on my shelf as if they were NES homebrew. Again, before the arrival of Retro 85, I didn't realize just how big of a community out there was doing things just like this. Thanks to the spring lock mechanism, I feel a lot better about storing my Switch games in these shells. They lock in securely, and I haven't been able to get them to come loose unintended. Well, outside of a really hard toss across the room. The shells also aren't overly tight, letting Switch games slide in and out almost like the cartridge slot on the Switch console itself. The shell of the Retro 85 also ensures that the only visible part of the Switch cart, aside from the top when looking down on them, is the label itself. It just looks so clean. Have I mentioned how good it looks to put these up on a shelf yet? Because they do. While Retro 85 isn't an ideal storage and transport method for Switch cartridges, it excels as an awesome way to display your games in a unique manner. I have a variety of Switch games that I own both physically and digitally, so I will be using Retro 85 to showcase those games on the shelf with my other Collector's Edition boxes. At $14.99 for a set of 8, I can see many in the novelty display crowd hopping on board with Retro Fighter's latest offering. And I just have to say it, I think Retro Fighter's version is the best looking yet. And that is the Retro 85 from Retro Fighters. Such an interesting novelty product, and one I am sure fans of this type of stuff are really gonna dig into and do some creative things with. And despite it being pretty niche, I think they're very well made, and are really telling for Retro Fighters' attention to quality that they have on so much of their stuff. But I just wanted to thank all of you so much for making it to the end of today's review. I am so grateful as always that you spend time watching any of the content that appears on this channel. It makes a big difference for us and for the growth of the place, so thank you so incredibly much to each and every one of you for that. But now if you could all do me a huge favor and be sure to hit that like or dislike button, just depending on how much you like today's review. And if you haven't already, please hit that sub button so you can see when new videos sorta like this go live. I cover a lot of reviews, emulation tutorials, and a bunch of other random nonsense under the sun. So I'm sure there's going to be something else here that you will enjoy. Now, if you'd like to further help support the channel, you can also check out that join button here on YouTube or the Patreon link in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. A little really goes a long way to keeping this place up and running, and thank you so incredibly much for all of my champions who have been keeping me company for the last couple of years. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. But that's going to do it for this one. So until next time, my wonderful internet peeps, stay awesome and we'll see you all back next video.